OK, well, let's be honest. I'm really looking forward to the World Heavyweight title fight at the weekend. And over the past 3 or 4 days, particularly, the build-up to the fight between David Haye and Wladimir Klitschko has either been livened up or soured by David Haye's behaviour, both in person and in the ether, if you like, in the electronic cyber world. Here's a package of some of the things that have been going on. You'll hear from David Haye and from Frank Warren speaking on H&J earlier today on TalkSport. Listen to this.
There ain't no tickling competition, ain't no pillow fight either. This is war. You're going to see one of the most brutal executions of a boxer that you've seen in many, many years.
He does it every fight, doesn't he? He's going to cut somebody's head off, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Ridiculous.
Make sure you're there. Don't go to the hospital with your brother. Make sure you're there. Don't go with the ambulance. Come there.
I mean, what would the FA do if that was a footballer saying the things and doing the things and telling people to do the things that he's asked them to do? Yeah, what do they say about it at the moment? You know, the Boxing Board of Control are a disaster area as far as that's concerned. They've let him get away with it time and time again without doing anything. I mean, I think it seems to me they're just happy to cop for the sanction fee and not do anything about it. And what message does that send out to young fighters? This is not what it should be all about. The fight it stands alone. It's a good fight, and why even sink to levels like that to sell it? It doesn't need it.
You want to send me to the hospital, David?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I wish you best of health, Manny. Best of health.
OK, let's get the views of what's been going on with Steve Lillis. He's the boxing editor of the News of the World. I want to thank him, for... welcome aboard, Steve.
Hi, Danny.
And listen, thanks for... We know we shifted you because the Salman Nasri thing blew up like a hand grenade in my face a couple of hours ago. So thanks for being so patient with us. What do you make of the build-up to this fight? Because it has taken some very strange turns, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, as Frank was saying, this is nothing new with David Haye at all. Whether he crosses the line... To some people, he does cross the line. But to him, this is a game. With David, Danny, there'll be times in life where you would say to someone, you don't care, but deep down you do. With this kid, we're talking about a crank from South East London who really doesn't care. The threats of the British Boxing Board of Control, they won't even bother this kid one bit. He's a complete basket case.
Well, let me ask...
we've had the ambulance thing with Audley Harrison, and I'm not here to defend David Haye, but is it worse than when Muhammad Ali was calling Joe Frazier and Uncle Tom? You know.
Well, actually, I'm going to ask you about that because today, and I want to get your personal view on this. I mean, you're asking me the question: do you approve of David Haye's behaviour, no matter how many times he's done it?
No, I don't approve. It's not nice. We had the ambulance stuff. The ambulance stuff with Audley Harrison at the very, very first conference. He was going to go in an ambulance and he was going to send grapes to his hospital. No, I don't approve of it at all. I don't agree with it.
I mean,
but what I'm saying, Daddy, we're talking about someone here who doesn't care. He doesn't give a monkey.
But professional boxing, Steve, is the greatest individual sport because there is an amount of danger. And let's have no... That's true. But it ill behoves boxers to be threatening each other with actual physical damage, doesn't it?
No, I missed you at the end of that question there, Danny. Sorry.
Sorry, don't worry. I'll come back. I'll come back to that. What I wanted to say, but we've gone a little bit further today. Now, David Haye has not made the video that I'm talking about. You know, on YouTube, there's millions of it. I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of videos where the scene where Hitler does his nut in Downfall, right? Yeah. And they're hilarious. People put other words in the subtitles, and Hitler is doing his nut about pop groups and about football teams and all the rest of it. David Haye has today tweeted people directing their attention to one where Hitler is talking about this fight. In it, though, of course, David didn't make it. There is the N-word is used. There's a deal of racial stuff going on as well. I think he's got to be a little bit more careful because that is not smart.
No, it's not smart. But I mean, the N-word that was used was that not aimed at David in the video though?
It was, yes.
Yeah, it's not a smart thing to do. But this guy is against the grain to everything there is. one way of maybe describing it. He is he's an anarchist for boxing. He's almost like a punk rocker in the 1970s, this guy.
OK, Chris Davis, what's your views on this? And talk to Steve about it.
Does it really sell tickets or subscriptions? Does punters out there listen to him likening a fight to a gang rape and think, wow, what a brilliant line. I must go and buy a ticket or a Sky subscription for this. Are people really influenced like that?
Well, I think they are, Chris. You know, I'm not saying they're right to be influenced, but I think itself. I mean, look at the Audley Harrison fight. That done around 500,000 buys for a fight that was farcical. They're talking of this bout on Saturday doing 800,000 buys on Sky box office, possibly, which would beat their heavyweight record for Lewis Tyson. Whether we're getting near Mayweather Hatton, it's did 1 million buys is another thing. This fight could do 800,000 buys. That generates £12 million.
So trash talk... what we're saying is
talking is working then and selling.
Well, let's hope it doesn't extend to other sports. That's all I can say.
Steve, what about the trash talking? Is it having any effect, do you think, on Wladimir Klitschko?
No, he's an old-style Eastern Bloc fighter. He boxed, behind the Iron Curtain. He brought up at that school, and he wanted the one thing that David has got wrong. And they keep saying, they keep twittering 1-0 to the Haye camp. He's unsettled. He's rattled. He will not be rattled one iota. He's a robot. He's programmed to box the way he does. He won't go in there all guns blazing, throwing shots like a lunatic on Saturday night just because he loses his temper with David Haye. David Haye might hope and think he's going to, but he won't.
I mean, David Haye has used the same word about him as a robot. I mean, that's certainly true about his very disciplined, jab-oriented style, as you say, straight out of the Soviet amateur boxing manual of 15 years ago. But he's not a robot in person, is he? I mean, he's a pretty personable sort of guy, and indeed has displayed, in my opinion, a sense of humour over all this stuff.
Hey. He's a charming fella and a very, very funny guy. I mean, I remember meeting him in London a few months ago, and we were talking about all his languages. And, he suddenly whips out these different passports he holds. He's a very funny, and he's very, very dry sense of humour he's got as well. He's a lovable character, actually. He might not fight exciting, but he's a lovable fella.
No, which is why, by and large, the HBO organisation in America have ignored him for the past 10 years. The other thing I would ask you about David Haye's behaviour, I mean, you've made him, as you say, you've used the word anarchist and punk rocker and all the rest of it. When Muhammad Ali was bawling at Sonny Liston many years ago, psychiatrists thought that he was the one who was frightened. They said it was hysteria. David Haye's not like that, though, is he? He genuinely believes he can beat this fella.
No, he's not like that. I mean, I've read somewhere the other way, and I can't even think of the journalist who did it. Somebody wrote that he would freeze on the night. The one thing, David Haye... we don't know what's going to happen Saturday night. David Haye could well get knocked out Saturday night, but it won't be because he freezes in the ring. This is something that David Haye has said he would do the minute he walks into Fitzroy Lodge Gym just off Lambeth Road when he was a 10-year-old around 1990. This is something he has dreamt about, 50-odd thousand people screaming. He don't care whether they're booing or cheering, whatever. This Saturday night is what he has wanted since he was a kid, and there's no way he'll freeze or anything like that at all Saturday night.
Why does it only happen in boxing, this trash talk? Why don't we hear... No, I'm being very flippant here, but we're not going to hear it with Nadal and Andy Murray.
I wish we could with those two, honestly.
I wish we could hear it.
Liven up, wouldn't it? Liven up a bit.
And you get some...
He does need a personality bypass, that fella.
You get some sledging in cricket, but why is it in boxing? Is it the unique nature of the violence of the sport where you have to be violent with the tongue, or what?
There's the violence. I think a lot of it comes from this Ali era. Everyone sort of mimics Ali, and they've taken it too far. I don't know whether it's boxing, whether it's this instinctive gladiatorial aid to sport that brings it. I don't know, Chris.
They don't all do it, though, do they?
Well, not all of them, no. But I mean, David Haye does all the time. I mean, you've seen it. I've seen it. I mean, I've seen stuff as bad as this from Americans that have come over to have fought to fight the Klitschko brothers. They've been as bad as well.
Yeah, and they've all gone home with their tails between their legs, haven't they?
They've all gone home. But as I say, going back to Dave, what you were saying, this guy will not be affected by anything the boxing border control threatening. I mean, I'll give you an example. Before he fought John Ruiz, half an hour before that fight, instead of relaxing, cycling himself up from the fight, he was on his laptop looking at what message boards were saying about them. This is the sort of character you're dealing with, and people, saying he should be charged with disrepute, and him hearing these sort of messages that he could be in trouble won't bother him one bit. He really doesn't care.
Where's your money, Steve?
It's one of those. It's a gun to the head tip, but I think Haye's going to win this fight. I think he's going to connect with the right hand at some stage, and maybe around 6-7 rounds. I think he'll stop Klitschko. I can't stop going back to the Samuel Peter fight in 2006 when Klitschko won every round on points. He was hit 3 times in the fight and went over and turned his back.
Each time, absolutely right. Listen, thank you very much indeed there. Steve Lillis, the boxing editor of News of the World, commenting on, at least on a sporting contest, where I think it's very, very hard to pick the winner. Not so